second chance in the game.
My name is Joe Linboom. I'm the head football coach at DeeMack High School. This last season, we were fortunate enough to win the Class 2A state championship here in Illinois. Basically, Class 2A in Illinois is schools with an enrollment between 300 and 400. And I'd like to speak with you today on our wing tee. It's pretty similar to the standard Delaware wing tee, but of course, just like most teams, we have our own little variances and things that make our version unique. And hopefully you can take something away from my presentation today to help you out with your own wing tee attack. Or if you're considering running the wing tee in the future, this might be a good introductory video for you as well. So like I said, I'm a coach at a small school, enrollment 330, and that's really important because when you look at the Delaware wing tee, I mean, it is based on the University of Delaware. That was a major college program. Tubby Raymond and all of his assistant coaches that developed that over the decades, they specifically put that together for a college program. But unfortunately, at the small school level, we have a lot of guys playing both ways. We're dealing with a younger athlete. So our version is quite a bit simplified, more so than you would find maybe at a bigger high school, certainly at the college level. So it is important to note that we are a small high school. And if you're the head coach of a small high school, this might be something that you'd want to take under consideration as well. So we went to the wing tee in 2009 and had some pretty good success with it early on, going to the state semifinals in 2010. We went 10-1 in 2011. Then we went through a little bit of a down cycle. We were a little bit down on talent and numbers, rebounded, and this last season we were able to capture the state crown. So we kind of got it to the point where we wanted it to really hit a peak in our program and feel really good with what we're doing right now at the wing tee. Just like most wing tee programs, we're a run attack. There's no doubt about it. This past season we rushed for 5,000 yards. We've gone over 4,000 yards multiple times over the last couple of years. Also threw for 1,000, putting us at just over 6,000 yards. So anybody who says that the wing tee is 4 yards in a cloud of dust or 3 yards in a cloud of dust, well, in many games this year we were 40 yards in a cloud of dust. So we felt like we had a pretty explosive attack. We set our division playoff postseason record for most points scored, averaging 46 points a game through the playoffs. So we feel like we're a pretty explosive running attack, and then we have the play action passing attack to kind of complement all of that. As far as our formations, again, I'm going to mention this several times in my presentation. We're a small school, so we like to keep things as simple as we can. That's basically the theme of our offense. How can we get the maximum results with the minimum playbook and the minimum number of plays and formations? So we run primarily out of double tight. Anytime you go to a Google search for wing tee, or if you read a book, it seems like you get that 100-900 formation where there's a split end. We don't like that. We like going double tight so we can balance up the defenses. And by the same token, we can run right or left. I think if you're just one side tight end, one side wing, you tend to run that way most of the time. Other defenses can pick up on that, put their best players over there. In high school football, very few teams have two really good defensive ends or two really good inside linebackers. We want to find the one that's not quite as good and be able to run at that particular guy. So going double tight is really important for us. Occasionally, about 10% of the time, I'll go unbalanced. That does a couple things for us. Number one, we can take, for example, if we want to go unbalanced left, we could take our right tackle, move him over. So now we've got basically on the left-hand side a tackle-tackle surface, and then take that left tight end and split him out as a split end. Our tight ends tend to be basketball-type players, I think 6'2", 175, 180 pounds. So sometimes we get into a situation where it's really difficult to expect those lankier players to down block for us. So occasionally we'll move a tackle over, put him there as a tight end, and run some unbalanced. The trade-off there is that the weak side attack, when you run unbalanced formations, I don't think is very good. We haven't had much success with it. So we're basically telling other teams, look, we're going to run to our unbalanced side, but we've got better personnel over there, try to stop us. It is a nice changeup. We'll get into that 10% of the time. Maybe one of the biggest differences for us as far as your traditional wing tee is we like to scoot that fullback back to about 5 yards as long as the timing is such that he can hit the line of scrimmage as soon as we get our trap block or our lead block or our belly block. We're fine with that. we almost treat him like more of an I-back. And really the focal point of our attack, it's fullback oriented. We put our best football player there. I'll talk more about that in a second. But we want to give him vision. And we feel like if we make that guy go down in a three-point stance, it's a little bit harder for him to see pre-snap where the bubble's at in the defense. And then once he gets the handoff, where to make that dramatic cut, especially on the trap play. So when you look at our formation before the ball is snapped, it almost looks like an I-back, standing back there relatively deep, not quite 7 yards, but deep enough that he can see everything in front of him. He's up in a two-point stance. And really the argument for a three-point stance, you're going to come out low, you're going to hit the line low, but we feel that as soon as you come across and get that handoff and work through the line of scrimmage, you're going to be pretty upright anyway. So just starting in a two-point, as far as coming out of a three-point, either way, by the time you get the ball, shoulders are going to be somewhat low, but you're coming up out of your stance. So we haven't really noticed any sort of a drawback to having our guys go out of a two-point stance. And truthfully, when we first came up with this idea 2 years ago, we gave our fullbacks the option. Now that's all our fullbacks, freshman through senior. Try the 2-point, see if you like it, and if not, we'll let you go out of your three. And all of our guys love the 2-point. They feel a lot more comfortable there. That's where they'd rather operate from, and it's worked pretty well for us. As far as offensive line is concerned, we're just like any other wing tee. We want our offensive line off the ball as far as they legally can be, which means on day one, when we put in our offense, we have the center get down in his stance first, and then the guards, tackles, and tight ends will line up off of him. And we want the guard, tackle, and tight end, for example, to my right here. We want that helmet right through the hip of the center as he gets down in his stance. That's as far off as we can legally be. And if you're going to run the wing tee and you're going to pull linemen, I think that that's something that's mandatory. I don't think there's much wiggle room on that. So we are off the ball as far as possible. Our splits, 2-foot splits across the board. We do a lot of down blocking, and again, I want to emphasize, a 2-foot split, that's not very wide. That's about 2 feet. Some people think that 2 feet's like this. It's relatively tight. We do a lot of down blocking. We have to secure inside gaps on a lot of our plays, so we don't like to get that split too terribly wide. Occasionally, we will adjust a little bit on our lead play. Not enough to give the play away, but just enough to give us a little bit of an advantage, and I'll get to that here in a couple of minutes. But for the most part, we're consistent with a 2-foot split across the line. So I'd like to start off by talking about our fullback attack specifically. Every year, we look for our best football player, and we play him at fullback. We've had 2 All-Staters since 2010. Both those guys were 3-year starters. Both those guys rushed for over 4,000 career yards. Both those guys rushed for over 50 touchdowns. So this is where everything starts for us, and then we work outward from there. So our stats, as you take a look at, this is our season stats from this year. These are our starting fullback left and right wings, and it is a balanced attack. We do like to try and make you defend everything from flank to flank. But like I said, everything starts with our fullback. And as you can see with these starters, our fullback had more yards rushing by himself than our 2 wingbacks combined. Not a lot, but our fullback's a full 33 to 35% of our offense. So we do rely on that guy quite a bit. Now, as far as what we're looking at for our fullbacks, he does have to be your best player, the guy that's the hardest to tackle. All right, so if you had some sort of a king of the mountain type of drill where you just go one-on-one tackling, and if you win, you stay in, and if you lose, you go out. The fullback for us is the guy that would be the last man standing. He's just your best player. We are looking for a guy that can run. That makes us a little bit different as well. I know a lot of stereotypes of the fullback is he's a big, strong kid, not real fast, but he's real physical through the line, and he can get you 3 or 4 yards. We don't want that, especially on our trap play. He's making some pretty dramatic cuts. We're looking for a guy that can move, one of the fastest kids on the team. To illustrate my point here, every year at the start of the season, we have something called the DeeMack Fastest Man Competition. And basically, we run it almost like a track meet with heats and then a quarterfinal and a semifinal and then a final. So we have a fastest lineman for the big guys, and then for the skill guys, we have fastest player. And so it's the fairest thing in the world. We line them up according to heats, and if you win your heat, you go on to the next round. And this year, our competition, we had a little photo finish there. Our fullback is the guy nearest to you as you're looking through your computer there. And one of our wingbacks is the guy he narrowly edges out at the top of the screen. We've done a lot of work with statistics and analytics and things like that. And when determining what wins games, like most people already understand, turnover margin's got to be there, total yards, average starting field position is important, but also explosive plays. We feel like if you're a team that's depending consistently on a 10 to 12 play drive, that's pretty tough to do throughout an entire season. You've got holding penalties, you're going to have more opportunities to fumble, somebody misses a block, the defense runs a blitz against you and gets you for a 2-yard loss, and now you're behind the chains. We really believe that there's a strong correlation between explosive plays and success. And so we're looking for guys who can not just gain 4 yards, but 40. And you'll see in some of the clips I have for you today, our fullback was certainly capable of that. He's got a 99-yard run to his credit, multiple runs over 60 yards. So we're looking for a guy who can run. He has to be one of the fastest players on the team. So our game planning progression, this is what makes us maybe a little bit different than your traditional wing tee team. If you go back and study the Delaware wing tee, and if you read the books by Tubby Raymond and all those original pioneers that talk about numbering the offense, or numbering the defense rather, first guy over the center is 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5 as you work your way out. But remember, we're double tight most of the time, so we face balanced defenses. I mean, it's really going to be 5.5 on both sides of the ball, so we don't worry about right side or left side. Instead, what we're going to look at are the bubbles in the defense and then determine where we go from there. Oftentimes, when you study the wing team, you study the series, everybody understands that if you run the trap, for example, in your 20 series, and the defense collapses on that, then fake to the fullback and give to the wingback on a sweep. If you're running the sweep and the corners are coming up aggressively, then fake the sweep and run play action pass over the top. But what it isn't often explained is how do you know when to go from one series to another? And that's something that I'd like to focus on. As far as your gap defenses, again, think of your traditional 4-man front. You got a 3 technique, you got a 1 technique, you got defensive ends that are in the C gap. You can find your bubbles there. The other team is going to declare pre-snap where the bubbles are at, just on their alignment. Here in Illinois, we see a lot of head-up defenses. Think a 33 stunt-oriented defense, a 5-3, that type of defense. So we're going to run opposite defensive slants. And I'll go through some examples there. Most of the time, when we go up against, some people call them defensive ends, I'm talking about the defensive players that are lined head up on your tackles. Some teams call them defensive tackles. But most of the time, with us running the trap, they're going to slant inside. We can kind of anticipate that. If they're going to slant outside against a team whose number 1 running play is the fullback trap, that's a recipe for disaster for them. So we anticipate most of the time we'll get that slant inward, and we can take advantage of that. And then finally, in high school football, what we're looking for when we go into our planning phase early in the week, where's your up the field guy? Where's the guy that likes to penetrate? One of the hardest things for high school defensive linemen to do, I have found, is to play on the line of scrimmage, to play discipline. You're all pumped up, the band's playing, the Friday night lights are on, you want to get up the field and make a play. We're looking for the guy that gets up the field. That's the guy that we want to trap, and there's several ways we can do that depending on where he is. So here's a brief study of what we're looking at as far as our bubbles, and just as a starting point, we've basically got a 4-5-2 defense. We see a lot of 2 safety looks. Again, we're a running team primarily, and teams want to get 9 in the box. So as you're looking at this from the inside out, our numbering system, we have even numbers to the right. So basically you've got 2, 4, 6, 8. And then odd numbers to the left, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And I know the traditional wing T has it 1 through 9 in order from right to left, But for us, that seems like a more complicated way to explain things to high school players. Every number line I've ever seen in elementary school starts one to the left, and then it works to the right. So our numbering system, if it's a low number, it's going to be inside, and then as you work your way out to, like I said, 6, 8, now you're getting outside. We also number our backs, so our fullback is our number 4 back, 2s and 3s will be the wing backs, and then 1 would be the quarterback. So this is basically how we label our system, how we communicate our plays. A little bit different than your traditional wing T, which is numbered by series. Okay, we number it by back and whole. Okay, so anyway, in this particular case, we've got a 3 technique here to the right. So we've got an open gap right there that we can attack through. So if we're looking to run 42 trap, we would run it there. Working our way out, our lead play, which a lot of traditional wing T teams refer to as the cross block in the 80 series. We don't cross block that, and I'll get into that in a second. But in this particular case, we've got an open window there if we want to block down here and block out here. So we could start with that play. And finally, if we want to go further outside, more off tackle, our 46 belly, which traditional coaches would call like an 88 or an 82 down. Okay, we call belly. And so we can see right here that if we block down here, kick out here, we've got a nice seam for the fullback. So this is what I mean by looking for the open windows from a linebacker's point of view, the bubbles, so to speak, of the offense. From here, we'll game plan accordingly. Now, as far as your audible system, if the goal is to run at the bubble and to make life as easy as possible, here's some ideas that we use from time to time. So for example, let's say that you think that you're going to get a 3 technique to the right, all right, to the right of the offense, okay? So in our case, we'd like to run 42 trap, a trap to the right, but that 3 technique is now lined up on the left. Sometimes as a double tight team, it's hard to pin down where that 3 technique's going to be. If they're going to run a 1 and a 3, is it always going to be to the wide side? Is it to a particular side of ours? Maybe they feel like they need a stronger defender to our right because we run mostly to the right, or vice versa. At any rate, you can go ahead and call something that starts with an O. For example, we could make an orange call, O for orange, or O for opposite. So that tells our offensive lineman that the play was 42 trap, now we're going to flip it to 41 trap. And of course, we practice this quite a bit. We know if we're expecting a 1 and a 3 technique that week, we've gone through it in practice, and our players can anticipate that even before the quarterback makes the audible. Hey, if I'm the right guard, for example, and we've got 42 trap, and this guy's been here, but now all of a sudden there's a 1 technique to my inside, even before the quarterback makes the audible, I should anticipate that we're going to get an opposite call. He's listening for orange, and then we can just go ahead and run 42 trap to the left, making it a 41 trap. We can do the same thing with our lead plays, 43 to the left, 44 to the right, and our belly plays, 46 to the right, 45 to the left. This is one of the advantages of running a double tight system. One of the advantages of having a truly mirrored offense. You can easily run plays to one side or the other. And like I said earlier in the presentation, we're really looking for those players that we can take advantage of, because very few high school defenses have great players 1 through 11. Usually there's some side, some alignment, some player you could take advantage of. And we could do it that way too. We could say, hey, scouting report says we'd like to run a trap at number 42. All right, so wherever he's at on the line, we can adjust to that as well. Of course, you have to have some dummy calls in. So if it's a game where we're anticipating making some audibles, where we're kind of checking with the QB, all of our pass plays as an offensive lineman, as an offensive player, you're deaf on those. If you hear an audible, pass plays, we don't flip-flop back and forth. They're definitely going one way. So that's a way to keep defenses honest. Now, here's what's a little bit different. I'm going to get outside of series football for a second and talk about how 2 plays from different series can actually complement each other quite well. And our best example is the trap and the lead. And again, I'll remind you, what we call basically a 43 or a 44 lead would be the old cross block play in the 80 series. And you'll see the diagram here in a second, so it'll make a little bit more sense. So again, let's say that we're looking at running a 42 trap to the right, all right, but the 3 technique is lined up on the left. Like I said, we could go ahead and run opposite and run that 41 trap to the left, but we could also run a 44 lead to the right, which takes advantage of that A-gap alignment, a 1 technique. And I'll show you some examples of that as well. So to do that, we might tell our quarterback that week, we're going to package the trap and the lead play together to either side. So if we're committed running to the right, we could say to the quarterback, if you see a 3 technique, we're just going to go ahead and run that 42 trap. All right, so for example, for us, it could be any number that ends in a 2, okay, 82, 32, 22, what have you. But if we see that guy move down into an A-gap position as a 1 technique or a 2I, now we're going to run the lead 1 over, 1 hole over, so now it's any number that would end in a 4. Right, because for us the 4 is through the B gap, the 4 hole is. And again, pass plays serve as your dummy calls. I'll show you some examples here in a second, all right? So that's how we would start our game plan progression with a gap defense, your traditional 4-man front. Now we do see a lot of the 3-3 look, which you see diagrammed here. So it's real simple here. We're going to try and pick up where you're slanting to. Now, some teams will mix up their slants, and then it's just a guessing game. They're going to get you sometimes, and then you're going to get them sometimes, and at the end of the day, we feel like we'll win that battle. But more often than not, we feel like nose guards will tend to slant to the wide side of the field. If we're having more success running to our right, we'll see that. We'll see some nose guards that as you pick up motion, all right, if you're motioning to the right, they'll go with motion or vice versa. So when we look at these head-up defenders, and we don't see a lot of base-up technique in our league and in our division, even in the postseason throughout the rest of the state, if we see head-up alignment, we're expecting slants one way or the other. So for example, if you get what I'm calling ends right here, whatever you call the defenders lined head up on your tackles, because we're so good at the trap, and because that's our number 1 play in our offense, more often than not, we're expecting this type of an inward slant, which is great for us. We can anticipate that, block down on it, and now we're going to run a lead opposite that slant. Now, if we get so lucky as to have defensive ends slant out, why then that's what we're looking for in the trap, and we can go ahead and take advantage of that as well. So, 3 plays. We got the trap, we got the lead, and we've got the belly. Again, what traditional wing T teams would call the down. So we'll go ahead and start with the trap play. When we're at our best, this is our number 1 play. It's one of those plays that even if the defense is prepared for it and plays it well, it's still really hard to stop because it hits so fast and we have outstanding angles. Now, we're pretty traditional when it comes to the trap play. I think we block it just like everybody else does. Maybe a few tweaks on the perimeter here. So just to go through this relatively quickly, our play side wing back depends on who the most dangerous player is. Sometimes you'll get that outside linebacker who will read the play, and as soon as he sees the fullback come inside, he'll fold back in on the play. So depending on who we're playing, that might be your first priority. We're hoping that the sweep fake holds him, but that's not always the case. And oftentimes, he's a better player, at least a better tackler, than the corner or safety. Basically, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we want to force your corners and safeties, guys who don't play those positions because of their tackling ability, they play that position because they want to cover receivers, okay? And that's what they're good at. Smaller guys, probably not your best tacklers, right? Your best tacklers are probably playing linebacker. So we feel with double tight, and the number of people we can bring to the point of attack, we'll block your D-line and we'll block your linebackers, but you're probably going to have a safety or a corner that can come up and make a play. That's fine with us, okay? Your worst tacklers, at least in theory, versus our best football player, our fullback, okay? Traditionally, the teams that cause us the most problems are teams that are fortunate enough to have good tackling secondaries, but we don't see a lot of that in Illinois. Again, you've only got so many good tacklers on a traditional defense. So it depends on the most dangerous threat, okay? As we work our way across the formation, play side tight end, first linebacker to the inside, never block anybody on the line of scrimmage. Play side tackle, again, first linebacker to the inside. Play side guard, you've basically got gap down linebacker. So for example, if my center is right here and we're running 42 trap, which is going to hit right here to my right, if there's a guy in the A gap, I've got him. If there's a linebacker coming up to blitz, I've got him. Okay? If there's a nose guard here and he slants to me, I've got him. It doesn't really matter. It could be gap alignment, slant from the nose, blitzing linebacker. I'm a train on a track, and I never leave it. I'm right here. This will be my first step, and then I'm coming through. Now, let's say that you have a nose guard here, and he slants away from me as a right guard. I'm going to step here, anticipating the slant too. Once I see that slant disappear out the backside, now I stay on my track, and I go to the backside linebacker. Center, if we're playing a nose guard, you've got man on. If you're uncovered, you got to step backside to protect for your pulling guard who's going to trap. All right, again, that's pretty universal. Backside guard, all right, you're the trapper. So again, if we're running 42 trap to our right and I'm the backside guard, my first step is going to be real quick for a little depth and distance, literally that short, that quick. And as the center blocks down for me, I want to clear him and come close enough to almost brush him as I work my way into the line of scrimmage. We tell our guards, anticipate worst case scenario. The guy that you're going to trap, maybe he's a 3 technique. He's worked on this all week in practice. It's our number 1 play. He's going to come down. He's going to squeeze down. He's not going to give you the easy up the field kick out. So again, first step, a little depth and distance just so we can clear the center. Second step, I'm crossing over. I'm right back into the line of scrimmage. We tell our guys, think of it in terms of a V-shape movement, not a letter L where you're working down the line, V-shape. We also tell our guys, if you have a defensive player and you're coming through his inside and you miss him, that's okay because he's not going to catch the play taking the long way around. If he does, we need a new fullback because the one we've got's not quick enough. So we tell him, if you're going to miss, you have to miss to the inside. You cannot miss to the outside. So depth and distance, crossover, working back into the line of scrimmage. Head has to be to the inside. It's going to be a right shoulder block. If I'm trapping to my left, same thing. Depth and distance, crossing over, brushing the center, staying real tight to my center. I'm looking to get my head on the inside of this defender, and now it's going to be left shoulder block. Okay? We do not flip our offensive linemen, so they're used to trapping in one direction all the time. Right guard's always going left, left guard's always going right. So they get that down pretty well. Backside tackle. One of the things about pulling linemen is you do leave yourself a little bit vulnerable because as those guards leave, there's open gaps to run through or slant through. So we tell that backside tackle, for example, again, we're going 42 trap. My buddy here, all right, the left guard, he's going to be leaving. I've got to step down. I'm working with my center, okay? Center's protecting from this side. Tackle's protected from this side. We can secure that gap. You're very vulnerable right here because the fullback, if we're going 42 trap over here, the fullback's going to step this way to get the handoff first, where there's that open gap, before he makes his cut. So we have got to protect that A gap, and these guys will do it, working together. And then the backside end, play's going away from you, you can work your way downfield. If we break it into the secondary, hopefully you can get to the safety, you're the touchdown block. Okay, again, that's pretty typical. Now, as far as your backfield rules, again, this is part of your traditional 20 series. Okay, so for us, we're going to hand off to the fullback. We're going to, like if we're going 42 trap, okay, we're going over here. We're going to pivot off. We're going to keep that ball nice and tight. We're going to give it to the fullback on the first step. Second step, here comes the wingback on his fake. Third step, I'm out into my bootleg. Fullback, again, if we're trapping to the right, again, for us, that's 42. You're going to come get the football here, inside arm up, and then you're going to look to make that sharp cut, and you have to read the ball pre-snap. You have to read the line of scrimmage pre-snap. See where that open gap's at. So, for example, Remember, we're in a 2-point stance with our fullbacks. We're almost 5 yards off the ball, but he's fast. He's our fastest player. Don't worry, he'll get to the line of scrimmage. So I'm looking at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. I see that open gap. I see the 3 technique. I see the 1 technique. I'm assuming, before I even get the ball, that as soon as I get it, I'm going to make my cut through that play side A gap. Okay? If I see an A-gap defender, and there are times when we will trap an A-gap, not usually by design, but worst case scenario. If we do see an A-gap defender there and we want to bounce it, then I know as a fullback I'm going to get that ball and it's going to be a drastic cut to my right. Okay? And then of course the backside wingback, he's going to carry out his fake sweep, and we really want to make sure that we hold the perimeter of the defense, because when we run that trap and make that radical cut to the right or left, you could be running right into the perimeter of the defense if they're not respecting sweep. All right, so this would be a good starting point for us as far as the trap. Here you've got a typical 4-5 defense. We see the 3 technique outlined in blue here, and to make matters even better for us, he's an up-the-field guy. So this one is a no-brainer for us. We're protecting the A-gap here with the center and tackle. We've got our kick-out block here on the trap. Okay, the guard, you remember his rules. There's nothing in his gap. There's no guard to worry, or there's no nose guard to worry about, so he can get right up on the linebacker. And one thing we really love about this, for this linebacker in this case, we can get the tackle and the tight end up on him, and then the fullback can make the cut accordingly. In this particular clip I'm going to show you, this guy was doing a really good job at trying to read the play. If we gave to the fullback, he was bouncing in on the play, and then he was trying to, if it was a sweep play, he was trying to play both from the same position. So we went ahead and told our wingback, just block this guy. Don't worry about getting down here. And you might be looking at this play thinking, well, what about the safeties there? Okay, but again, this is our best football player. Okay. Is that your best tackler? Probably not. And now if he is, that could be a tough deal for us. Usually these guys are. All right, so that's pretty much what we're looking for here. So, all right, so we're going 42 trap. And you can see that, pause this for a second here. So we've got the B-gap 3 technique player. He's coming through there. We're coming up on linebackers. We're getting these guys up the field to linebacker. Wingback, all right, we've got this guy. We've got the safeties back here. And you'll see the fullback make that cut. And once he gets into the secondary, we like it when he's one-on-one with the safeties. Right there. And again, you can see the little stiff arm there. You'll also notice, too, that the guy who ends up making the tackle is this guy right here. Like I said, we had the right idea, we just need to stick with him, and there he comes. That's what I mean by a perimeter player that can fold back in on your fullback game. From this side, I can time this at the right spot. So here's the 3 technique coming right up the field in the B gap. That's our kick out block. You'll see you'll see us get inside position on him, which we like. We've got good position right here with our head. We're pretty good out here. Just be careful with that arm getting around. Fortunately, that guy's got a tougher view of that, but we do like to get our hands on people. And then as our fullback pops through, you can see the dramatic cut. Here we are, one-on-one with the safety, no problem. Last guy makes a touchdown saving tackle. So again, one more time, full speed. That's how we would attack a 3 technique. And you can see the double team on the linebacker there. Play side. And again, from the end zone view here. Now, end zone view against a 3-man front, a 5-3, a 3-5, whatever you like to call it. We're going to be running to the left here. This will be a 41 trap. So again, guards rule. All right, I've got a nose guard here. It's hard to see on the film, but if he comes through, I got to pick him up. If he slants away, I can keep on my track. This guy right here, we've got to get inside release on this tackle. We've got to work inside. This is the guy that we'd like to trap. We're always trying to trap the first guy past the guard. In that case, it's clearly this defender. You'll see our right guard work down the line of scrimmage, working for inside position. You'll see the fullback get the ball to the right and make a dramatic cut to the left. And a lot of our trap plays end up actually down the sideline. That's how drastic that cut is, and that's why you need an athlete to run this play effectively, at least in our opinion. So, again, running 41 trap here. Now you can see that this particular defensive lineman didn't do too bad of a job. He's squeezing down like you'd expect him to, making it hard for our tackle to get off. We'd like to do a little bit better job right here, but we've got a nice little seal here. And we've got inside position from our backside guard right there. We've got our head to the right side, which is the upfield side, so we like that a lot. And you can almost see, even before the play fully develops, there's our lane right there. Again, we want those fakes to hold these guys. Sometimes we feel like we could maybe do a little bit better job with these fakes, but that's basically the name of the game. And again, that's against your odd front. And you can see that dramatic cut all the way out to the right. So again, we want a guy that can move. We were lucky this year. We got a guy who was big, strong, and could move. When you get that guy, it's a pretty tough play to stop. All right, so a couple little odds and ends here as far as how much mileage you can really get out of this basic trap play. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes we can pick up if a team is motioning or slanting to a certain direction. We had one game this year where whenever we would motion with a running back from a wing back position, he would slant to the play, which is a good move because, of course, if you want to run your sweep out of double wing, or if you want to run a rocket or an option, of course that guy's going to go in motion to get the ball, so that's a pretty good idea. Here's a way to counter this, all right, teams that pick up on this motion. So on this particular play, you'll notice that the nose is going to slant away. Again, same concept here. There's no slant to worry about here, so we can go to linebacker. This guy made it a little bit scary for us. The play that you'll see happens to be a 5-2-2 stack, which is a very rare defense, but you run the wing tee long enough, you'll see all kinds of defenses designed to stop you and slow you down, especially if you run the same offense year after year after year. This is what your opponent does in the offseason, figure out how to stop you. But that's good, makes you a better coach. So anyway, you'll see this guy, again, he gets up the field. This guy's up the field. You'll see the lane. Once again, we're one-on-one with the safety. You would assume that this guy would have no problem getting his hands on our fullback, but you'll see the athleticism as well. So go ahead and... So again, here we've got our motion. Okay, this is a second half play for us. This is an adjustment we made at halftime. We know that this really good nose guard who'd been tearing us up in the first half, we know he's slanting with motion. We're ready for it. You'll see the perimeter of the defense get up the field. You'll see the backside trap. The fullback is going to end up down the sideline. Right there, one-on-one with the safety, and he just runs away from him. And eventually the backside guy will catch him, but we're 50 yards downfield at that point. So from the back here, again, you'll see the slant here. You'll see the right guard come and get the block. You'll see the upfield movement. You'll see us get on linebackers. Here we are. You see the upfield penetration. This guy, no big deal. We're going inside him. In fact, we prefer that. And you'll see the guard come through. Right there. Got our head barely to the inside, but it is to the inside. We've certainly got enough leverage there. You can see the small hole for us to pop through. And off and running. All right, I guess the last little wrinkle with our fullback trap is, what if you have a team that's keying your guards? And the biggest giveaway there is, if the guards are uncovered and there's two linebackers right over top of them, think a traditional 5-2, that's a team that might be keying your guards. Traditionally, a four-man front, we don't see very many linebackers keying guards. It's very tough to do. The guards are covered with a three technique. Maybe there's a two-eye technique. But if they're uncovered, you got to watch them. How do you know for sure? Go ahead and run a sweep play. Okay? If those linebackers are beating your guards to the sweep, they're not staying there checking out the fullback. They are taking off because they see the play side guard here in orange taking off. So in this particular play, we're going to false pull. It does leave our center one-on-one with the nose. There's nobody to help, but you'll also see the linebackers flow as well, taking themselves right out of the play. You see the linebackers flowing outside, and we come to the inside. Again, you'll see the false pull. Got the two linebackers, and we just come right inside of them. And you'll see end zone shot here in a second, I believe. And again, keep your eye on the linebackers. You got the false influence pull. They'll move out, and we come right up inside. So a few odds and ends as far as the trap is concerned. Maybe some things that the traditional wing tee coach doesn't consider. It's a great third and long play. It really works kind of like a screen play or a draw play in that you slow down the pass rush, because when you run a trap, what do you want? You want the upfield rush because those guys are pretty easy to trap. And you also want the linebackers thinking pre-snap, well, it's 3rd and 12, surely a pass play is coming. As soon as the ball is snapped, or even maybe a little bit before, I'm going to drop into my hook to curl zone. So if you think about what makes a trap play work so well, you got defensive linemen screaming upfield, easy to trap, easy for us to get our offensive linemen up on linebackers who are maybe and probably backpedaling into their pass coverage responsibilities. Now, sure enough, the first time you run this play on 3rd and 12 and it gets stopped at the line of scrimmage, there's a lot of second guessing. I can't believe that coach is running the fullback up the middle on 3rd and 12, but the next time you want to run or throw the ball on 3rd and long, they know, hey, you're willing to run the trap. We can't necessarily bail out. And I will tell you, more often than not, the first time we run trap, 3rd and long in a game, it's an easy first down for us. And then when you come back to it later, it might get stopped. But when it comes time to throw the ball, you have at least slowed them down to a certain extent. They have to consider it. They know that you're going to run it. Upfield C-gap defensive ends. Again, I'm talking about a traditional four-man front. Why would you ever want to trap double A-gap, okay? So we might have a C-gap defensive end, and for us, normally, if we're running a sweep or some sort of perimeter play, our tight ends have to block down on usually a bigger, stronger, tougher player. So if you're trying to run sweep, and the defensive end is constantly getting penetration, believe it or not, you can run your fullback trap, take that backside guard, come all the way across and trap him, and that's a way to take advantage of that defensive reaction. I'll show you a play in just a second. The other thing, too, in practice, sometimes your offensive linemen get honed in on the idea that I'm going to trap a defensive lineman, and more often than not, they will. But occasionally, you'll have for example, an A-gap defender, maybe you'll have a C-gap player, and now here comes that linebacker blitzing through. Well, if I follow my rules, okay, so if I'm a right guard, and my rule is to trap the first guy on the other side of the other guard, and that guard steps down for an A-gap player, the first player through might be a blitzing linebacker. And I've had offensive linemen who say, well, I'm supposed to trap a defensive lineman because that's what we normally do, so now what am I supposed to do? Well, you just trap the guy. You just kick him out just like he's a defensive lineman. So make sure you practice that because eventually you'll get in a situation in a game where you could take advantage of that as well. So this particular play right here, we're going to actually trap this defensive end with the fullback trap right up the middle. Here we've got an A-gap defender, so we're going to block down on him. This will be our 42 trap to the right. You'll see this guard come all the way across and take out this defensive end who had been giving us trouble on our sweep. We couldn't block him. He was penetrating up the field. So this is our answer to that. And again, this guy right here, he has to be athletic. Are you athletic enough to take a handoff on the left side of the quarterback and bend it all the way back to the right? So again, we've got the block here. We're lower pad level. This is the guy that we're looking to trap. He's going to get penetration. Here comes the backside guard. Right there, we love that position. We're just a little bit lower than him as far as leverage. We've got our head to the inside. We've got our tight end and our tackle up on the linebackers. And now the fullback does the rest. He makes his cut. And like I said before, if our fullback's getting tackled by safeties in Class 2A football, enrollment 300s, we need a new fullback. All right, so we expect that guy that once we get one-on-one to be able to make at least that first guy miss and make the pursuit get to you. So that's something that we do quite often throughout the year. Again, from the end zone camera, again, imagine that we're running sweep play. We're trying to run to the right. We're having trouble with the wing back. All right, this is I mentioned a C-gap defensive end earlier. This is actually a D-gap defensive end coming through here. Having a tough time blocking him. Let's make him pay a little bit here. And again, you can see just how far the guard has to come to get that kick out. We like where we're at right here, a little high. All right, this is a taller tackle for us, but we do like the fact that the head is on the right side, the correct side. And then you see the fullback pop through there, and we like that. We like that a lot. Linebackers call it open window. We kind of do the same on offense. We like letting that linebacker, or that fullback rather, get a free run into the secondary. All right, so what I want to finish with here is some of the things that we do in practice. Again, the trap's our number one play. So we do spend quite a bit of time on this, both preseason, throughout the year. We never get tired of it. So first is the trap drill itself, and here's our natural progression. Our best success comes when we're able to trap a B-gap player. Again, think a 3 technique. So again, we'll go ahead and work that footwork. First step, 6 inches for depth. I'm going to clear that center here. And again, I talked earlier about that V-shaped cut. We'll tell this guy as we work our progression. First day of full pads, okay, in August. Go ahead and come across, make it easy, build up the guy's confidence, but we don't do that very often. In practice, we want to create a tough situation for us, so we're going to have these guys close down to make sure that we're getting our head to the inside and working that V-shaped path. Now, the belly play, which I'll get to here in just a second as I wrap things up, is the same thing as the trap, you just move it over. And again, traditional wing T teams would call this 82, 88 down, okay, depending on the side that you want to run it to. So it's the exact same principle. So here we've got what we call 46 belly, I think 82 down. And again, now this guy's the center. We're going to take a step for depth and distance, V-shape, we're going to go through the inside. So even though it's trap and belly down, it's the same exact principles, same exact footwork. And one of the beauties of the wing T is that you get a lot of carryover from play to play as far as your blocking schemes and footwork. So that's a drill that we spend quite a bit of time on. Here's another drill that we'll use with the center and the guard. So again, we're working against a nose guard. That's the point of this particular drill. So the combination to the left here is the coach will stand, I'll be on this side literally as you see me here, and I'll tell that nose guard to slant left or right. And of course this guy's got his back to you, the offensive lineman, so he can't see, but he has to assume the worst, that the nose guard will slant into his gap. So for example, in this case we're running 41 trap. We're trapping to the left. I'm on my train track. I'm literally on steel rails. There's no way I'm leaving for anything. So if the nose guard slants away, the center will take him. I just continue on my path. I get backside backer. Okay. Now the situation to the right. Again, you can imagine the coach is right here. He's telling the nose guard slant right or left. Now we work in a blitzing linebacker. Okay, your 3-3 defenses do a lot of that combination slant blitz look. So in this particular case, I've had the nose guard slant here. We would simulate 42 trap. We'd have a backside guard pulling here and trapping. So I got to pick up the slant. I got a linebacker creeping up the blitz. The center can pick him up. You're not blocking a man. You're working as a team to block an area. Again, if I'm on the play side over here and I'm a guard, and again, I've kind of emphasized the depth off the line of scrimmage with my helmet through the center's hip here to really drive that point home. Again, I've got whatever shows in the A-gap. Center's got whatever shows backside. I've got whatever shows in the A-gap. In this case, nothing. I keep going. Center's got backside. That's been a nice little drill for us. And obviously, if we're playing a team that is and does run a 33 stack, we'll work that quite a bit. All right. Inside release drill. Speaking of a 33 or a 5-3. So again, these would be tackle and guard lines here as we work through this. And we go in rapid fire. I'll basically be the coach on this side, and I'll just work from left to right. And we'll just run them rapid fire, and then I'll come back the other way. And while the other guy's going, that's your chance to catch your breath for a second. But by God, by the time I get back to you, you better be ready for your rep, all right? So the way that we start this is, again, this is our progression early in the year. We make it easy, okay? We're going to run the trap your way. In our case, this would be 41 trap to the left. So you've got to get off of these guys that are covering you and get up on linebackers. So we start the defensive players in an outside shade. This would be like your 3 technique. This might be a 5 technique, okay? Now, because he's shaded outside, it should make it easy for you to get off. And again, what we're looking for in our footwork here is I escape to linebacker level. Never take a false step. That's like that trophy right there. That's my linebacker. That's my target. So I'm that left guard. All right. So here's my first step, real quick 5-inch step. Second step, I'm going to take this backside arm. I'm going to rip through, give him a small target, turn my shoulder pads. Now I'm up on that linebacker. And obviously, same thing if you're a tackle. And then as we progress through the year and our guys get more confidence, we'll let these guys go to more of a head-up alignment, which is more realistic. And now it's who's the faster guy. So that gets a pretty competitive drill going for us, and we have quite a bit of fun with that. Now, those are basically 2 versions of the same play. Trap inside, and then you got the trap outside. So now the lead blocking. The rules here, this is where we differ a little bit from traditional wing tee. Again, think your 80 series where you've got that cross block. I don't like the cross block because I have found that having that cross block and a lead blocker going through that hole, that's a lot of action in a pretty small amount of space, and we've never had much success with it. The other thing I don't like about the cross block is we do so much down blocking in our blocking schemes that I think defensive linemen are coached up pretty well to react to that. In other words, if I'm a defensive player and I've got an offensive player and he's going to come inside or pull down the line of scrimmage, as a defensive player, I can play off of that pretty well. So now this gives them a different type of blocking scheme to consider because I'm not blocking down or away from you, I'm coming right at you. So I think it's a good idea to give those defensive linemen one more thing to worry about. So anyway, with our lead blocking rules here, the play side wing back, he's going to lead through the B gap or C gap. We'll run it to either hole. Play side tight end, he's fan blocking, which to us is an outside block. Play side tackle, more often than not, is also going to block to the outside. But if he's going up against a guy who's head up on him and is looking to slant inside, he's probably going to anticipate that because we run the trap so much. Play side guard, he's got his rule is gap to linebacker. Center, if he's covered, has the nose guard to backer. Backside guard and tackle, they've got to protect the backside, working in tandem. Show you that in a second. And then the backside end, we can work up to second level. As far as the backfield's concerned, quarterback is going to reverse pivot, hand off to the fullback, carry out his fake, keep the perimeter at bay. The fullback, it's really simple for him. He's just going to follow his lead blocker, but he is looking to run outside off of that once he gets through the line of scrimmage, because that's the way the blocking is set up. And the backside wing back, just like the QB, we're going to carry out a belly option fake to keep the perimeter at home. So for example, again, I talked about looking for the bubble, and we see it right here in this particular diagram. So basically, you've got another 4-5 type of look with 2 high safeties. So we really like to run this towards the A gap. If we wanted to run the trap, that's for this 3 technique. So again, this guy's got a different look. He's seen a lot of down blocking, maybe even some pulls on some counters, but now he's got a tackle turning out on him. That's something a little bit different, especially if he wants to try and penetrate through here to stop the sweep. We could just take him where he wants to go. This is also a great counter to your motion. Again, if you have teams that are seeing that 3-step pre-snap motion and are flying with that, we'll go ahead and motion this guy, have him slam on the brakes and work up through the B gap. And again, we're trying to get our head on this side of this linebacker, so the fullback's cut is very similar to the trap. We start in the middle, but we're headed outside. Got the tight end fan block outside. We're protecting backside here. The quarterback is vulnerable as he reverses out. Okay, this is my backside gap, so I need some protection there so I can get the handoff. And we'll go ahead and show a play here. So again, you can see the motion here with the lead blocker for us. And I will tell you, one thing for us, and this might come in useful if you have such a mix of personnel, our 2 starting wingbacks were very different in physical attributes. This kid was a big kid, especially for us, at about 200 pounds, not real fast, but big and powerful. This kid was more of the traditional small school 165 to 170 pound guy, a little bit faster. So for us, when we ran lead, it was primarily to our left. Our biggest guard was also on the left, so we did develop into a little bit of a power side, more speed side as the season progressed. All right. But anyway, as this play continues here, you can see that there's no threat in the A gap because he's gone away. So then our guard can go ahead and get up on the linebacker. And again, this is our all-state guard. He's 220, which for us is very, very big with the small school level. Now this guy right here, our left tackle, again, we will react to that. We've got an inside slant with our 3 interior guys, I'm sure probably designed to stop the trap first. So we'll take him down. We got the fan block. That leaves us one-on-one here in the hole. You can see we've got a nice hole to work with right there. And we like the head on this side, and now we're headed down the sideline. And again, right there in the hole, and you can see that's a lot of power coming right at you. We like that fullback to get right in behind that lead blocker. Again, one more time, full speed here. Another look at it here. This time running to the left, again anticipating an inside slant because of the threat of the trap that we run so often. You can see the hole right there. I mean, back up here just a second here. I mean, right there, I mean, if you're a wing T coach, you love seeing that. You know that you're going to have a good outcome there. Lead blocker comes through, and we're into the secondary. And the ultimate for us is if we can get the fullback into the end zone untouched. We like that quite a bit. Again, from the end zone view, you're going to see the down block here, fan block here. He's going to come through on the linebacker, and we're off to the races. And again, against the 4-man front, or I guess I should say against the 3-man front, that's what the blocking would look like, some of the plays I just showed you. Again, if you're going to run this play, that lead blocker has to be a pretty physical guy, and he certainly was for us this year. Good counterplay to the motion, because you could set up your lead block off of that. And then the last thing, I guess, too, some worst-case scenarios. We really like running our lead play to that one technique, but sometimes you don't always get what you want, so you got to make the best of a bad situation. So we always tell our lead blocker, which would be that wing back, that he's got the B-gap guy in a situation like this. Basically, here's what I'm talking about. In a perfect world with this lead play, and this will be our lead blocker right here, we'd like for this guy to be an A-gap guy to where we can block down on him, block out, and have him come through to get a linebacker. But as you can see on this particular play, the B-gap, the big lineman, and this kid weighed about 275. He weighs 200, so that's not an ideal matchup here. But again, we thought for sure we were going to get a slant through the A-gap, and it didn't turn out that way. So the big guy gets blocked by our much smaller running back. But we will practice this to make sure that just in case it happens. Now, we got lucky on this one because it turned out to be a nice play for us. But we do like that position right there. We've got a lower pad level. We've got our head to the correct side, which is to the inside, so the fullback can cut outside as he veers towards hash number sideline. And then there's the athleticism from the fullback. All right, so we've covered the trap play, we've covered the lead play. The belly play, very similar to trap blocking. The rules are pretty consistent through here. The biggest difference here is that, for example, if you're running the trap play to the right, I'm sorry, I should say the belly play with trap blocking to the right, this guard is leaving, so there is an opening there, and it's really risky because as the quarterback reverses out and gives the ball to the fullback right here, if you don't protect that A-gap, there's a linebacker that could blitz right through there. So that's very important that the play side tackle and center work together to protect that A-gap. Backfield rules are pretty simple. We're going to fake option off of this. And again, the fullback, we want him up in that 2-point stance so he can read where is the opening as I take my 45-degree path to the right or left. Is it going to be in the C gap or the D gap? And it's an outside track. So again, pre-snap read, where's the open window, where's the hole, the bubble in the defense. In this case, it's right here. There's nobody right here, so this is going to be pretty extreme as far as the path and the cut. And again, like so many of our plays, even though he's a fullback, it ends up near the sideline. So again, this would be a 46 belly for us. This is the perimeter guy that we're going to trap as we work inside. Here's your kick out. Here's the path outside. You're going to see the center and tackle squeeze down to protect that A-gap. Kick out, we got to make sure that our head is to the inside, which we see right here. We like that a lot. We've got a good scraping linebacker here. Fortunately, we get through there just in time. You see the stiff arm there. That's something that we work on quite a bit with our running backs. We have the shadow man dummies, and not that I make anything off of them, but it is a nice practice tool. For example, get that fullback with the ball in his right hand, practice this angle, have those shadow men lined up so he can come through 3 at a time. All right, 1, 2, 3, right on down the line. Then line them up at about a 45-degree angle on the other side. Put that ball in the left hand. Have him take off. Smash those shadow man dummies as he's headed to the left. So we've got really good leverage here as tacklers have to work from the inside out. So you see that quite a bit when you watch our running backs. And this kid in particular was really good at it. So we like that quite a bit. So a couple more of our off-tackle belly plays. This will be for us 45 belly. You'll see this side of the line blocked down. The guard will kick out, and you'll see the path of the fullback coming towards the bottom of the screen. This would be the guy that we're looking to kick out here. Again, on this play, not real happy with the guard. We need to see that head to the inside. It's to the outside. He's also got a high pad level. So we got a little bit fortunate on that. But we do like the nice hole to run through here. Again, if you freeze frame the play right there, you know that we're going to have a good result. This is our all-stater, a kid that rushed for 2,000 yards. Any defender's worst nightmare. So you can almost kind of see the one-on-one matchup, and we've got blockers coming. And again, our angle, 45 degrees, hash, number, sideline. And once again, we see a fullback play, head down the sideline. That happens quite a bit, and that's why we need an athlete at that position. Again, from the same play from the end zone angle here. Get a good look at this A-gap. Nice job with the tackle and center step into the A-gap to protect. You're very vulnerable right there. Got the kick out right there. This guy's doing a good job scraping over the top. Got away from our wing back there a little bit. And just ran out of real estate there. This play, again, for us, 46 belly to the right, looking to take advantage of an upfield defensive lineman here that was maybe giving us some trouble, a bigger kid. When you run the wing tee at the high school level, a lot of your wingbacks are going to weigh around 160, 170. That was the case here. Help those guys out, all right? If they're going up against a bigger, stronger D lineman that they can't get their down block on, go ahead, trap that guy a few times, make him stick to the line of scrimmage, help that guy out. The interrelated blocking schemes, so beneficial here. So we see the upfield rush here, easy for us to get our head to the inside. We've got bodies on linebackers here. Could have done a much better job with our outside fakes, but it's their job to hold this guy at bay. But we do get the we do get the fullback through the line of scrimmage pretty cleanly there. And again, remember what I said earlier about DeeMack fastest man. And this is a pretty fast team we played, just pulling away from guys. Again, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, not here, all right? Try 50 yards in a cloud of dust. Again, you'll see down block here, releasing inside. Got the trap on this guy up the field. Right there's your lane, and here we go. One more example, same play, same side to the top of the screen here. Just a little bit here. So here we got the upfield rush, again giving our wingback some trouble earlier in the game. We've got this perimeter defender already up the field. And again, it's our best player against your safety. We usually win that one. Again, about a 60-yarder untouched. So from good to great. We knew that we'd be good this year. We were a senior-dominated team. We had a lot of 3-year starters. But for us, it wasn't just about being good. It was about doing something that had never been done before at our school, winning a state championship, getting to 6,000 total yards, averaging over 40 points a game in the playoffs. So I think the biggest key for us going from good to great, and again, this makes us a little bit different than a lot of other teams. Number one, we practice daily against great defensive technique. So I showed you some plays where we were trapping defensive linemen that were up the field, and that's when life's pretty easy, but we don't like to practice against that technique in practice. We like to practice against 3 techniques that are going to come down hard and squeeze the football, so we really have to work for that particular trap. We like going against defensive ends that will squeeze down the line of scrimmage and really condense that hole, so we have to really drive them out of there, work those smaller holes. So definitely make sure that you're practicing against great defensive technique, and there's a carryover too. At some point, you're going to play against a team that runs a lot of trapping schemes, that takes advantage of an upfield rush, and tell your guys that, hey, when you're on defense, remember this. We're always looking for trap bait. Don't you be trap bait. And then finally, we spend a lot of time practicing against bodies. I'm a wrestler, and I know in wrestling practice you have your workout partner, you're taking each other down to the mat and you're working on your moves with each other. There's not a lot of machines in a wrestling room. So I've kind of brought that to the football field as well. So we don't spend a lot of time working on the chutes. When you line up and run through a chute, it's hard to do all that pulling stuff through there. We don't do a lot of work on the traditional 7-man sled, pushing that down the field because, again, a sled, it can't slant on you. You can't trap it as it comes up the field. It doesn't put a move on you as far as a pass rush. So we spend most of our individual time, and when I say most, I mean 95%, practicing against each other. We have ones go against ones. We have twos go against twos. So everybody's challenged. Everybody can progress, so nobody gets overwhelmed early on. And we feel like that's been a pretty big difference maker for us. Here's another drill that we'll do, speaking of bodies. Love doing this one early in the year because it reaffirms area and blocking rules as opposed to which man do I block, because you get that quite a bit from rookie offensive linemen. So we call this the 33 drill, and even if we're not playing a 3-3 team in week 1, we love running this in the preseason. So basically you've got the coach again on this side of your offensive linemen, so they have their backs to you. And then you line up your traditional 33 stack, and you just tell guys where to go. All right, so I'm looking at these guys. I'll tell that linebacker, I'll point him this way, point that in this way. I'll get to the nose, I'll point him to the our left, point that stack backer to our right. I'll just work my way down the line. And so, for example, if we want to run 42 trap against this, the nose is coming here, guard would take him, all right? There's a linebacker blitzing through here, so that would be the right guard's rule. And then the first guy past the center, in this case, happens to be a blitzing linebacker, so I would take him. And you can do that for almost all of your plays. The only well, really all of your plays. Now, for some plays, it would work a little bit better than others, but really you could run all your plays against these particular looks. And you don't have to blitz every linebacker because realistically, you're not going to see a 6-man blitz combo, but you certainly could. If you want to run, say, for example, 46 belly, all right? This guy's rules to block down, he would have linebacker. Center's got to protect that A gap, so he would step down here. Tight end, of course, would be here, and now you're looking to kick the first thing outside the tight end, which would be that outside linebacker sitting out there. Let's say you want to go 43 lead, okay? As a tackle, I've got to react to this man, and we tell these guys more often than not, he's going to do exactly what you see here, which is slant to your inside to take away the trap. So take him where he wants to go. You can incorporate your running backs if you wanted. So our lead blocker, our left wing, he would pick up this blitzer right here, and then this guy would fan block outside. So the 33 stack's a pretty good drill for us. Again, it doesn't matter who the man is. All right, it's what shows up in your area of responsibility. Love that drill. Again, 42 trap, like I just said, here's how it might look when the play fully develops. A different look, okay? Again, now you're coming out away from the play with the nose slant. You've got the end slanting outside. 44 lead, the trap, you need the interior guys, but if you want to run 44 lead or 46 belly, you can do it a half line, and oftentimes we'll do that. So we'll separate the two sides of the line so nobody's running up on each other's ankles and things of that nature. But we'll start over here. I'll have a defense set up, and I'll just point them where I want them to go, and I'll make these guys react to it. And then I'll come to the other side, and we'll do the same thing with the belly play, which you see right here. So that's how it would look with those particular drills. So that's our fullback attack. This year our fullback rushed for 2,100 yards, ended up with over 4,500 career rushing yards. 1/3 of our entire offense goes through him on just those 3 plays, but hopefully I've demonstrated that you can attack A gaps, B gaps, C gaps, even D gaps with your belly play if it hits wide enough. So there's a lot you can do with just that one player, from basically one tight end to the other. My email is included in this presentation, so if you ever want to see more trap plays, more lead plays, more belly plays, by all means, email me. I'm very flattered whenever I get requests, and I'll send you 30, 40 trap plays if you want through Huddle. I have no problem sharing what we do. And if you have any other questions, by all means, I check my email and usually respond to it daily. Just let me know. Thank you very much.